Town meeting had a different look this year compared to all that came before it. Virtual gatherings by Zoom replaced the traditional in-person floor meetings that in the past, and presumably the future, shaped much of the substance and character of town meeting. Informational meetings online allowed for discussion of articles on each town's warning, but no votes were taken. All the articles were decided by Australian balloting, which concluded on Tuesday, March 2nd, official town meeting day. But by then, many voters had already cast their ballots by mailing them in or dropping them off at town halls, which set up special drop boxes to receive them. Manchester's town clerk, Anita Sheldon, described how things had gone so far on Tuesday afternoon.
Usually we have about 700 to 900 people show up for the annual town meeting. This year we have about 1,000 people so far voting. So great turnout. Very few people coming in person, which is sad because we miss them. However, it is nice to know that we are trying to mitigate the spread of COVID-19 in our communities.
So a lot of people then voted early by mail or dropped off their ballots?
Yeah. We've been checking the drop box about every 45 minutes to every hour. We get quite a few, usually between about 50 to 60 or so. Great turnout, and hopefully if you have any absentee ballots, please make sure they get back to the polling place prior to 7 p.m. today, or we will be open for in-person voting as well.
So that turnout you said was slightly higher than normal for a town meeting election. Do you think it will be possible or a good idea to continue early voting or enhanced mail-in voting in the future when the pandemic's over and everything?
I'm interested to see if the state will decide to do that or not. I do think that people will have a better idea of how to do it now. So we may just receive more requests in the clerk's office, and if so, we can handle that.
Overall, voting turnout was roughly comparable to past years, as voters weighed in on candidates running for select boards and other public offices, as well as other questions on their warnings. In Manchester, voters gave a thumbs up to all the items on the ballot, from the nearly $6 million proposed town budget, a lease purchase agreement for a new fire truck, a green light for the town to pursue discussions about acquiring an already built rail trail for recreational purposes, and approved about $243,000 to help support the Manchester Community Library. Incumbent Select Board members Jan Nolan and Heidi Chamberlain were returned to the Select Board to serve new terms. In Arlington, voters approved a $1.4 million town budget, and all the articles on their warning, except for one which called for the Select Board to appoint a town treasurer, which was defeated by a narrow 12-vote margin, 223 to 211. Voters did approve eliminating the Office of Auditor, with future audits to be performed by a licensed accountant. This passed by a 294 to 133 margin. On the school district side, voters approved the $7.1 million school budget by 348 to 82. Dan Wood defeated Jeff Tilley in a contested school board director race, 211 to 163. Incumbent Todd Wilkins, currently the school board's chairman, was reelected without opposition. In Dorset, voters approved $2.2 million in highway and general fund expenditures proposed for the next fiscal year, along with financial support for other community organizations. There were no contested races for town offices this year. Select Board members Megan Thorne, Liz Ruffa, and Henry Chandler all won re-election. Voters also exempted the Wilson House in East Dorset from property taxes for 5 years. The home of one of the founders of Alcoholics Anonymous has been struggling recently due to the pandemic and is at risk of shutting down, according to the Manchester Journal. A preview of a new project to move the town offices from their current location in East Dorset to another site on Raptor Lane was unveiled. A bond vote to upgrade municipal water lines in Dorset Village passed by a 335 to 50 vote margin. The Taconic and Green School District also saw its budget approved, as was the proposed tuition rate for Burnburton Academy. Jeff Wilson and Alexander Wild were elected as at-large school directors. A vacancy for the Manchester school director position will be filled by appointment on March 9th. For the GNAT-TV News Project, I'm Andrew McKeever.